Stop everything. You will not recognize Sandra Bullock's adopted son in 2025. The little boy the world first saw in her arms has grown into someone fans can barely believe is the same child. His transformation is jaw-dropping, his style unexpected, and his presence impossible to ignore. From a quiet childhood to a stunning new look, his evolution has everyone talking. In early 2010, Sandra Bullock's life took a dramatic turn, marked by heartbreak, reinvention, and an unexpected source of joy. At the beginning of the year, she was still glowing from her Oscar-winning performance in The Blind Side, a film about a woman who takes in a homeless teenager and helps him find stability and success. But as life would have it, fiction soon mirrored reality. Behind the scenes, Bullock was already in the process of adopting a child, a secret she kept guarded while the world watched her professional triumph. In January 2010, Sandra finalized the adoption of a baby boy named Louis Bardo Bullock, born in New Orleans, Louisiana. The decision to adopt from New Orleans was deeply symbolic for her. The city, still healing from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, represented resilience and rebirth, qualities Bullock admired and had personally witnessed through her philanthropic involvement in the area. Louis, just a few months old at the time, became the center of her world almost instantly. However, what should have been a time of pure celebration unfolded amid painful personal turmoil. In March 2010, mere days after her Academy Award win, headlines erupted with revelations of her husband Jesse James's infidelity. The scandal led to an immediate separation and ultimately, divorce. But through the heartbreak, Bullock found strength in her new role as a mother. The adoption, which had already been underway before the scandal broke, was finalized under extraordinary emotional circumstances. She chose to proceed as a single parent, determined to give her son the stability and love she felt every child deserved. When the news finally became public, it came not through tabloid leaks or paparazzi shots, but through a controlled, heartfelt moment that Sandra herself chose. In April 2010, she appeared on the cover of People magazine cradling her infant son, introducing Louis to the world with quiet pride. The cover became one of the most iconic celebrity moments of the decade, not because it was glamorous, but because it radiated authenticity and warmth. The photo showed Bullock in a soft, intimate setting, dressed simply, her expression filled with maternal tenderness. The headline read, "Meet my son Louis," capturing the emotional turning point in her life. In the accompanying interview, Bullock revealed that she had kept the adoption process private for months, even from many close friends, as she wanted to protect the experience from outside scrutiny. The adoption process had begun while she and James were still together, but after their split, Sandra made the decision to move forward on her own. She described the moment she first saw Louis as love at first sight, recalling that his arrival gave her life new meaning during one of her darkest chapters. The choice of the name Louis was also a tribute to the city of New Orleans, a place that had touched Bullock deeply and where Louis had been born. "He's just perfect," she told people. "I can't even describe it. He's just the most beautiful little man." The world was touched by the honesty and strength of her story. A woman who had faced betrayal and heartbreak, yet found redemption and joy through motherhood. Bullock later shared that Louis' presence helped her heal and reframe her outlook on life. Becoming a mother taught her patience, perspective, and unconditional love, lessons she credited with helping her navigate the challenges of fame and personal pain. She often referred to Louis as "my little man," and spoke about how his calm, observant personality grounded her. The 2010 People cover not only introduced Louis to the public, but also marked the rebirth of Sandra Bullock's personal identity. She was no longer just the rom-com darling or Hollywood's girl next door. She had transformed into a fiercely protective and independent mother who had weathered scandal with grace. The story struck a chord across the world, reminding people that life's most painful endings can lead to the most beautiful beginnings. In the years immediately following the adoption, Sandra retreated from public life, taking time to focus on bonding with Louis in peace. She bought a home in New Orleans, the same city where Louis had been born, and split her time between there and Los Angeles, carefully avoiding the Hollywood scene. The actress, who once filled magazine covers for her blockbuster roles and red carpet appearances, instead became known for her quiet, deliberate absence. Paparazzi sightings were rare, and when they did occur, Sandra was typically seen in casual clothes, guiding a stroller or holding her son close, her expression calm and focused on her child, rather than the lenses aimed her way. From the very beginning, Bullock refused to let Louis's childhood become a spectacle. She declined invitations to talk about him on talk shows, avoided sharing photos on social media, and politely steered interviews away from personal questions. "If he wants to tell his story someday, that's his choice," she once said, emphasizing her belief that her children deserved autonomy over their own narratives. Her restraint was remarkable in an era when celebrity parents often balanced fame with carefully curated glimpses of family life. Bullock chose the opposite route: total discretion. Her privacy wasn't just about hiding from attention, it was about creating a normal childhood for Louis, one untouched by the industry that had shaped her own adult life. Friends and colleagues often described her as a hands-on mom, the kind who did school drop-offs, packed lunches, and attended parent events quietly, blending in among other parents without fanfare. She wanted Louis to experience the world as a child, not as Sandra Bullock's son. This approach deeply influenced how the media covered him. Through much of 2010 to 2015, there were virtually no tabloid stories or intrusive reports about Louis. When photos did surface, often candid moments of mother and son walking together, they showed an affectionate, tight-knit duo. Fans admired how Sandra managed to balance her A-list career with a fiercely private home life. Reporters began referring to her as Hollywood's most protective mom, a title she wore with pride. Professionally, Bullock continued to work selectively, choosing projects that allowed her to spend extended time with Louis. Films like Gravity, 2013, and The Heat, 2013, were shot with careful scheduling so she could return home quickly. Despite being one of the highest-paid actresses in the world during this period, she prioritized motherhood above all else. Those who worked with her noted how every decision, from filming locations to press commitments, revolved around Louis's well-being. Her dedication to privacy was also an act of love shaped by empathy. Bullock had seen firsthand how fame could distort family life, especially for children of celebrities. She wanted Louis to know a world of real friendships, playdates, and school adventures, not tabloid headlines. Over time, her protective nature became part of her public identity, earning her admiration as both a devoted mother and a woman of principle. Reportedly, from 2013 through 2021, Sandra Bullock carefully navigated the delicate balance between privacy and public commentary regarding her son, Louis Bardo Bullock. By this time, Louis was growing from a toddler into a young child, and the media's interest in him had intensified. Yet, Bullock remained steadfast in her commitment to protect his early life, revealing glimpses of his personality only when she felt it was meaningful, deliberate, and framed by context rather than curiosity. These intermittent comments, scattered across interviews in reputable outlets, offer a nuanced view of her parenting philosophy and of Louis as an individual. In interviews, Bullock often spoke of Louis's sensitivity and empathy, traits that she highlighted as particularly striking for a child his age. She described him as deeply aware of the emotions of others, capable of understanding complex feelings despite his young age. In one interview, she noted that he had a natural inclination to comfort others, and that this emotional intelligence made her reflect on her own approaches to parenting. For Bullock, cultivating Louis's emotional awareness became a priority. She made it clear that she wanted him to feel secure in expressing his thoughts and feelings without judgment. Her comments underscored her philosophy that parenting is less about control and more about guidance and listening, guidance. Bullock also affectionately referred to Lewis as a crazy foodie. She recounted stories of him delighting in tasting unusual combinations of foods or insisting on trying dishes from different cultures. This detail, seemingly lighthearted, also reflected her approach to nurturing his curiosity and sense of adventure. Food became a conduit for bonding, learning, and family routines. She often emphasized the joy in these ordinary moments, shared breakfasts, kitchen experiments, or family outings to local markets, highlighting her belief that everyday interactions are foundational to raising a confident, well-rounded child. Another recurring theme in Bullock's rare public remarks was her approach to discussing race and identity with Lewis. As a white mother raising a black son, she acknowledged the responsibility she felt in helping him navigate a society rife with racial inequities. She described having frank, age-appropriate conversations about race, fairness, and understanding difference, emphasizing honesty and openness. In interviews, she reflected on the importance of giving Louis tools to understand his own identity and to thrive in a world that may view him differently because of the color of his skin. Bullock framed these discussions not as lessons of fear or caution, but as conversations rooted in love, pride, and preparation. Over the years, her comments were often brief but telling, appearing in reliable outlets like People, Vanity Fair, and select talk shows. They painted a picture of a mother who is deeply present and reflective, someone who measures her words carefully while acknowledging the complexity of raising a child in the public eye. She rarely shared photos or anecdotes that might compromise his privacy, choosing instead to offer insights into his personality, milestones, and the values she hoped to instill. This approach earned her respect in both parenting circles and the broader public, reinforcing her image as a grounded, thoughtful, and fiercely protective parent. Bullock's reflections on Lewis also revealed her awareness of her own growth as a parent. She admitted that raising him had prompted her to question her assumptions, learn from mistakes, and continually adapt. Her insights often touched on the emotional labor of parenting, highlighting both the joys and the challenges. For example, she spoke about navigating moments of frustration with patience, encouraging his independence, and modeling compassion. Through her commentary, one could see a parent deeply committed to raising a child with confidence, curiosity, and empathy. In December 2015, Bullock revealed to People magazine that she had adopted a second child, a daughter named Layla, pronounced Lila, then 3 years old. Like Lewis, Layla's story was one of resilience and hope. She had spent time in the foster care system in Louisiana, and Bullock, who had long supported adoption and foster programs, felt an instant connection. "When I look at Layla, there's no doubt in my mind that she was meant to be here," Bullock said in her announcement interview. "I can tell you absolutely, the exact right children came to me at the exact right time." The adoption process had not been easy. Layla's placement involved a sensitive transition from foster care to permanent adoption, and Bullock worked closely with child welfare specialists to make sure her new daughter felt safe and loved. The process was deliberately kept private, as Bullock had learned from her earlier experience how important it was to protect both the emotional and legal aspects of adoption. Even during filming or press tours, she avoided discussing personal matters, focusing entirely on creating stability at home. Her son Lewis, then 5 years old, played a special role in this new chapter. By all accounts, he welcomed his little sister with open arms, showing a nurturing side that touched his mother's heart. Bullock described him as the leader of our little pack, saying that it was Lewis who first expressed the desire for a sibling. "Lewis spearheaded this whole journey," she shared. "When I told him about Layla, he said, 'I knew she was coming, Mom.'" It was a sentiment that reflected how naturally the new sibling bond formed. For Bullock, that sense of unity, of children coming together by fate rather than blood, became the emotional core of her growing family. Bullock revealed that the adoption process had been underway for several years, but she deliberately kept it secret until it was finalized to protect Layla's privacy and safety. I had to be very careful, she explained. When you're adopting a child through foster care, there are laws that protect the child, and rightly so. So until everything was settled, I couldn't share anything. During that period, she was photographed less frequently than ever before, spending nearly all her time at home with Louis and Layla, focused on bonding and building a secure family foundation. When the People cover story announcing Layla's arrival was finally released, it carried a tone of quiet joy rather than spectacle. The photos showed Bullock with both her children, radiating warmth and peace. A picture of a family formed through love, not publicity. The accompanying story emphasized her wish to give Layla and Louis a normal life. "My family is blended and beautiful," Bullock said, "and I wouldn't have it any other way." Public reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Fans and fellow actors alike praised her compassion and humility, calling her an example of what modern motherhood could look like. But true to form, Bullock refused to let the spotlight linger. After the announcement, she withdrew again, declining interviews that might pry into her children's lives. Friends described her as a mother who handled everything herself: school pickups, playdates, doctor visits, rarely relying on nannies or assistants. Her life revolved around routine and presence, not fame or appearances. During this time, Bullock was also quietly balancing motherhood with a blossoming relationship with photographer Brian Randall, who became a supportive figure in her children's lives. The couple shared a deep commitment to protecting Louis and Layla's privacy, creating a nurturing home filled with structure and love. Though she never publicly defined Randall's role in interviews, those close to her described him as a steady, calming presence who shared her values of discretion and devotion to family. By late 2024, Louis Bardo Bullock had entered his teenage years, a stage of life that brings natural changes in height, appearance, and demeanor. After years of protected privacy, the public, long accustomed to seeing him as a small child on rare magazine covers or fleeting photographs, finally glimpsed Louis in real-world, candid settings. Photographers captured him during occasional family outings alongside his mother, Sandra Bullock, and younger sister Layla, sparking renewed interest in the family headlines described his 2025 look. But those who followed Bullock's approach to parenting quickly noted that the attention was less about any dramatic makeover, and more about the natural, undeniable growth of a teenager. Photos from late 2024 into 2025 consistently show Louis tall and noticeably older. Observers commented on how much he had grown since the early photos of him as a toddler and preschooler. In these images, Louis walks confidently beside Sandra or Layla, often dressed casually, blending youthful style with comfort. Unlike celebrity children who are frequently styled for public appearances, Louis appears unadorned and authentic, a testament to the family's long-standing approach to privacy and normalcy. Outlets emphasizing his look often clarify that what people are seeing is simply the natural transformation of a child growing into adolescence. His height, posture, and features now clearly signal teenage years rather than the baby or preschool snapshots that the public remembers. In coverage from reliable sources, there is a notable absence of speculation about makeovers, cosmetic changes, or dramatic transformations. Louis's appearance has prompted curiosity primarily because so few images of him have been released over the years. The 2025 look is therefore shorthand for Louis in his adolescent form, taller, more physically mature, and distinctly a teenager, rather than any deliberate or externally influenced style change. Observers emphasize that he retains the private, grounded essence of the family life his mother has protected for more than a decade. Sandra Bullock herself has continued to prioritize discretion. Even amid increased media attention in 2024 and 2025, she has made no public statements that offer specific commentary on Louis's teenage appearance, personal habits, or social life. Any insights into his character or behavior are limited to long-established descriptors from prior interviews: sensitive, thoughtful, and inquisitive. These rare glimpses into his teen years underscore that the focus remains on Lewis as a growing young person, not as a figure for public consumption. Reports and images also highlight the context of family outings. Whether walking to a local market, attending casual errands, or accompanying his mother to low-key events, Lewis is typically photographed interacting naturally with Sandra and Layla, showing familial closeness rather than performing for cameras. Observers note his confident but understated mannerisms, his casual style, and his calm presence, all of which reinforce the impression of a teenager who has grown up in a loving but largely private environment. The public response to Lewis's appearances in 2024 to 2025 is a mix of fascination and admiration for Bullock's continued dedication to privacy. Fans and outlets remark on how seamlessly he seems to embody a relatively normal adolescence. Despite being the child of a major Hollywood star, height, physical maturity, and the adolescent features that mark his 2025 look are natural developments, yet they capture attention precisely because the world has waited so long to see him in this stage of life. The photographs underscore how time changes everyone, and in Louis's case, the transformation from toddler to teenager is both obvious and inevitable. What do you think about Sandra Bullock's adopted son? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.